So a very good afternoon to everybody. This is the fourth day of our presentations, and in this evening session we have presentations on the literature of the Victorians by semester 1 students. Let me share the link of the topics of the students and the list of the students who are going to make presentations in this session. I'm sharing the screen. The list of the students. Okay, so in this session we will have first presentation by Hetal, and she will make a presentation on character of little father time in Jude the Obscure. Yes, Hetal, so you can again see if there are any mistakes in your topic. Off is a minor word or a small word, so it can be with small o. And little father time, capital L, capital T. They are key words for the name of little Jude. So capital L, capital F, capital T in Jude the Obscure. Now your mistake will be my mistake because I have copy pasted this on my YouTube and LinkedIn and Facebook and everywhere. So people will say that this is English professor, and then I take a screenshot and share with other people that this professor of English also don't know how to write the names and the things. So, right from the first day, we are telling you that be careful, your mistakes becomes my mistakes. And still, on the fourth day also, we are struggling to get the spellings or the titles in a correct manner. Gopi will be next to make presentation, and that will be on thematic study of importance of being earnest, right, well written. Ghanshyam will be third to read on hypocrisy in Victorian society in connection to the importance of being honest. After that, Gayatri will read on fact versus fancy in hard times, followed by Drashti, who will read on Thomas Hardy as the novelist. After that, Bhavyata will make presentation on Patriarchy in Robert Browning's poem. Avani will make presentation on Déjà, from hard times to bank robbers, followed by Archana, who will read on thematic study of Jude the Obscure. Anjali will read on thematic study of hard times, S needs to be capital there, and Aarti will be the last one to make presentation on title of the play, importance of being Ernest. You all have submitted your presentations in Google Classroom, and as you know that we have this little way of assessing your assessment. First one is teacher's assessment, which is rubric-based assessment, and we have a rubric in Google Classroom. The parameters are subject matter, organization of ideas, elocution, art of clear speaking, mechanics of writing, your eye contact, body language, enthusiasm, and lastly parameters of research-based writing, where how well sources which you have cited are integrated to support the claims of your argument, and then how well have you cited, documented all the sources. We prefer to have MLS style citation for the same. You are doing peer and self-evaluation. We have prepared an online form for peer and self-evaluation, and so far, as we see that we also try to maintain a kind of a transparency in peer and self-evaluation. So you all can also have a look at the graphs or pictorial images of how you are cited, how you are evaluated by your classmates. So the report is generated every day in this manner, and you can see that this is how your performance is going, and your classmates are citing you, evaluating you in this manner in a Likert scale of 1 to 5 points. So if you are getting more score on the fifth bar, it means your presentation is of good quality, and your classmates are liking your things. 4, 5 is a good one. If it is below 4, 5, the longest bar is 3 or less, it means that you need to improve your presentation. So it is fairly well done by all of you. It is appreciated that all of you are honestly, objectively doing the evaluation of your classmates. We are doing a live streaming of the sessions, and since Corona times, we have started uploading all the activities which are done either in online or in hybrid mode on a particular website. On this website, we have all student webinars being documented. Point number 14 is the ongoing season here. On point number 14, we have this live streaming going on. This is 18th October. We have one more day to go tomorrow. And these are the presentations of the previous days. So the first day we had these presentations. Then on the second day also we had this, and we had a little bit of problem on second day. And so we have done a plan B and recorded it in the class. Today morning also we faced electricity failure problem. But then it was restored very quickly. That's why we got a little bit late in the morning session. So the presentations which were recorded on the second day are made available on this website here. Individual recordings with a feedback by the teacher also. And today's things are also ongoing here on this page. So today's morning session is made available here, and this is the online. Right now, the live streaming is going. That is just great to see it is going on well. So since that is going quite well on this platform here. So these are the things about our ongoing sessions. So you all are now, I hope, ready for your presentations, and let us start with the first one. So Hetal is coming first to take the presentation. Then share your screen, and you can start your presentation. One system. Now I think all of you are. So Bhavyata, you don't know what is the problem. The important thing is to identify what is the problem. Then only we can solve it. Mic may be off, but speakers may be on. So the speakers give output of the sound, and mic gives input to the sound. So that if we understand, then we can come to know that the sound is coming out, then the microphone is off, then also sound will keep on coming out.
Am I visible and audible? Okay. A very good noon to you all. Today is the fourth day of semester 1 presentation, and I am going to present on the Victorian literature. And my topic is character of Little Father Time in Hardy's novel Jude the Obscure. These are my personal details. These are some important points which I am going to discuss about in my today's entire presentation. Introduction of Thomas Hardy, about the text, character analysis of Little Father, what symbolizes the character of Little Father Time as Hardy's changeling child, purpose of my presentation and conclusion. So let's begin with the introduction of Thomas Hardy. Thomas Hardy was an English novelist and poet. His life period was from 1840 to 1921. Hardy is direct and simple, aiming at realism in all things. His works portrays the hardships of working class people. The return of the native and the woodlanders are generally regarded as Thomas Hardy's masterpiece. The idea of Wessex plays an important role in Hardy's novels. Thomas Hardy makes a man and significant part in all his novels. He considered as the realistic novelist during the Victorian era. His novels are generally powerful and sometimes fascinating, but not pleasant from the reader's point of view. About the text, Jude the Obscure. This novel reveals Thomas Hardy's major intention as demonstrated throughout his career as a novelist. Hardy's wish was to portray an honest picture of human nature. This novel appeared in book form in November 1895. It is Hardy's last completed novel. This novel, written by Thomas Hardy, created a huge impact on the minds of the readers. After this novel, Hardy stopped writing novels and moved towards poetry. So we can understand that this novel Jude the Obscure, written by Thomas Hardy, this novel serialized in the year 1894 and published as a book in the year 1895. In the novel, our protagonist Jude Foley, he was from working class, working as a stone mason, and our next second protagonist Sue Bridehead, or also known as Susanna Bridehead. They both are the protagonists of this novel called Jude the Obscure. The word obscure means which is not easily understood by everyone, or also we can say invisible, or the person which is not clear from his state of mind means obscure. Obscurity means difficulty to understand. And our protagonist Jude Foley is also portrayed as obscure by Thomas Hardy, because he don't know, because he is not clear about his aspirations in his life, and he don't know that what he want to do in his life. That is why the title signifies as the Jude the Obscure. Character analysis of Little Father Time. Little Father Time, the morbidly self conscious child in this novel who hangs himself and his younger brother and sister. The similarities between Jude and Little Father Time is readily apparent. Both Father Time and the young Jude are described by the narration in similar terms, because neither Jude nor his son enjoys a happy childhood. Little father considered himself as a burden. He cries to Sue Bridehead that I wish I hadn't been born. In the similar way, pessimistic by nature and by circumstances, Jude also felt the same, and he frequently wishes that he had never been born. So, one of the important character is Little Father Time, also known as Little Jude. He is the son of Jude and Arabella, raised in Australia by Arabella's parents. And though he is said to have not he is a young child, but still said to have as an old man. When the little father hanged himself and also hanged his step brother and step sister, this particular part in the novel considered as the climax scene in the novel, and from that particular scene we can find the complete change in the character of Sue Bridehead. What symbolizes the character of Little Father? Little Father Time is surely a thinly veiled persona for Thomas Hardy himself. He is gloom personified, an odd combination of child and man, of youth and an old age. A boy who seems obsessed too early with decay, death, and human misery. Little Father's motive was to alleviate the heavy burden of a family already too large for the elder Jude to support. So, what symbolizes the character of Little Father? That Little Father is a combination of child and man, and also a combination of youth and an old age. From the very early or young age, he obsessed too early with the concept of death and human misery, and he thinks about himself that he is the burden for his parents, and he hanged himself with his brother and with his step brother and step sister, because he thinks that we are too many, and he thinks that we are a burden for our parents. Little Father Time as Hardy's changeling child. The changeling figure is an alien child. Changeling are by definition. Changeling means a child which is suspected not to have a couple's real child. And here we can understand that the little father or little Jude is not the son of Sue and Jude, but he is a son of Arabella and Jude. Changeling are by definition abnormal, or we can say unnatural, though the abnormality can take a variety in many forms. The changeling child is sickly or even mentally handicapped. The character of Little Father Time, of course, is not a literal fairy child, but he possessed several of the characteristics of the changeling to a marked degree. This character, as a changeling, one embodies and dramatizes the issue of motherhood and abandonment. Another characteristic tying him to changelings is the fact that his parentage remains at issue throughout the novel. That we can understand that when he start to stay with Sue and Jude, whenever they are going out, little father always expressionless, because he don't understand the things very clearly. That is why and the parentage issue always remains the same throughout the novel, because his mother, Arabella, also abandoned him. Purpose of my presentation, why I have selected this particular topic for my presentation, because as we have seen that the character of little father is a changeling child. That means it's a kind of deformity, and but we all need to change our thinking towards the concept of deformity, as we have seen the concept of deformity in the novel Frankenstein also. But what is important, that we need to change our concept of the concept of deformity, that when someone is deformative in any way, we should help them, because it's not the person's individual fault. So we need to change our thinking. Conclusion. To conclude my point, I would like to say that the character of Little Father in Jude the Obscure is totally different from other characters. Throughout the novel, we all can find the obscurity of all the characters in one or the other way. But I personally believe that the most obscure character in the novel is Little Father, that who hanged himself as a part of thinking that we are considered as a burden of our parents. So Hardy portrayed his character in this way, and that is why he is one of the most obscure character in the novel. These are my work citations that you can see here. So now you can ask me questions.
Yes, Hetal, my question is that why little Father Time considers himself as a burden?
Okay, little father considered himself as a burden because he knew the struggles of his parents, that how my parents both are struggling about the work, and because we are too many, because of us they need to suffer more, and that is why he think that if we are not that much, they had little not that much, because it is because of us that they need to work in this way, and that is why he considered that we are as a burden to our parents.
Next question will be reflected before the answer is given. Yes.
Hetal, do you think that for the tragedy of suicide is because of his parents?
No, I'm not thinking that the tragedy of suicide is because of parents, because parents are not at all responsible for whatever happened with the little father and his stepbrother and stepsister. But it is the individual thinking of little father, that we are the burden for our parents, and that is why this tragedy happened. But parents are not involved in this because they are not aware about these things. Okay, thank you.
You should inform share the problem. To sustain 2 years in this department, they are very strong. પછી એ ક્યાંય પાછા ના પડે. બે વર્ષ પૂરા થઈ જાય તો પણ 50% નથી થતા. ધીરે ધીરે વિકેટો વધતી જાય. એમાં લગભગ નવા લોકો હોય એ ભાગીને ચાલ્યા જાય. જે ટકી જાય એટલે પછી ક્યાંય પાછા ના પડે.
Am I visible and audible?
Sharing, just yes.
Hello dear friends, I am Gopi Dervaliya. Today I am going to present on themes of importance of being earnest. This is my personal information about the author. Oscar Wilde was a 19th century dramatist, author and poet. He was born on Dublin, Ireland on October 16, 1854. Wilde's first successful play, Lady Windermere's Fan, was produced in 1892. The following year, he wrote Salome and the Woman of No Importance. These in turn were succeeded by An Idle Husband and The Importance of Being Earnest, both produced early in 1895. The Importance of Being Earnest is a comedic play written by Oscar Wilde. It tells the story of Jack Worthing. He is the play's protagonist. Themes of the importance of being earnest, satire on the upper classes, the triviality of marriage, Victorian manners, importance of wealth, and importance of identity. So first is satire on the upper classes. The dramatist targeted upper Victorian class the most. He has presented a society which has lost its values. Three major characters of this play belong to the upper middle class. Lady Bracknell, Algernon, and Gwendoline are the remaining characters. She focuses on personal benefits. Apparently, she is a sober and respectable lady, but deep down, the audience knows that she is foolish, arrogant, and class conscious. Second is the triviality of marriage. From the very beginning of the play, we realize that marriage has no importance in the society, which has been presented by the dramatist. Lady Bracknell has a list of wealthy persons, and she is going to interview them one by one in order to choose a life partner for Gwendoline. This act of Lady Bracknell shows that marriage is just a contract instead of a serious love relationship. Likewise, Gwendoline and Cecily went to marry a person whose name is Ernest. For them, the name Ernest is enough to speed a whole life instead of love. Algernon and Jack want to live bachelor life. They do not support marriage. Oscar Wilde, instead of focusing on the importance of marriage, has focused on its unimportance in order to show the thinking of society. Whilst most concrete critique in the play is of the manipulative around marriage. Victorian manners, Lady Bracknell presents the usual old ladies of the upper class. Algernon presents young bachelors. Gwendoline and Cecily are representatives of young ladies. In that society, old ladies want money, young men want to remain bachelors and want to enjoy life without doing any work. Gwendoline and Cecily are fashion conscious ladies. This play does not depict both sides of Victorian society. Rather, it shows us only the negative side. Perhaps the dramatist wants to say that positivity does not exist to all. Importance of wealth. Wealth indeed has its own importance. Lady Bracknell wants a wealthy son in law. In the same way, Algernon wants money to survive. Jack is living a prosperous life because he has wealth. He has created an imaginary person, Ernest, and does not care about earning money. Lady Bracknell first rejects Jack, but subsequently accepts him as a husband of Gwendoline just after knowing that he is in possession of a good fortune. Thereby, in one way or the other, it is shown that wealth has much importance in one's life. We can easily say that in entertained movie, male protagonist Akhil has no money. So female protagonist Sakshi's father refused to marry him. But when Akhil comes to know that Pannalal Johri is his father, who is a billionaire in Bangkok, and after his death, Akhil becomes the owner of his all properties. Seeing this, Sakshi's father arranges the marriage of both of them. Importance of identity. Gwendoline's mother disapproves of her engagement to Jake because of his unknown origins. Discovering that Jake has discovered in a handbag in a cloakroom when he was a baby, she insists that her daughter will not marry a parcel, insisting that Jake must discover who his relatives are before he can marry Gwendoline. This problem is resolved when Lady Bracknell recognizes Miss Prism as the maid who lost her sister's baby, because it is revealed that his first name has in fact been Ernest. To conclude, Oscar Wilde has focused on reality. He has presented these themes in the importance of being earnest because he wants to reform his society. Oscar Wilde wants them to do something good for the people. He wants morality in society. Algernon and Jake are living double lives. Apparently, they are pures, but in reality, they are weak. This is my citation, and thank you. Now you can ask me question.
Gopi, my question is that why Jake established two different identities for himself in importance of being earnest.
Okay. In importance of being earnest, Jake established two different identities because one for a city and another for country. So when he is born, and so he goes to city to help his brother Ernest. But he's in really he's very alone time in country. Yes, in the importance of being earnest reveals about difference of the behavior of the upper class and lower class. Members of the members of the upper class uh, uh, deals of pride and they uh, entitled to his wealth and social higher social positions.
Hello everyone, my name is Ghanshyam Katariya, and today's my presentation topic is hypocrisy in Victorian society in connection with the importance of being honest. This is my information. The content I'm going to present these topics: importance of being earnest, the play, and Victorian society, the dialogues from the play, and hypocrisy in India. Importance of being earnest, the importance of being earnest, and have a subtitle that is a trivial comedy for serious people, and it's written by Oscar Wilde. It's the first performance of the play was on 14th February 1895 at St. James Theatre. The hypocrisy of upper class in Victorian society. The play importance of being earnest have the major theme of hypocrisy because it's a satire. So Oscar Wilde satirized that time of society and their hypocrisy. The play have many dialogues and quotes that represents the hypocrisy of that time. Some dialogues of the play, the uh, character of Cecily says that you see, it is simply a very young girl's record of her own thoughts and impression, and consequently meant for publication. When it appears in volume, from I hope you will order a copy. Gwendolyn's dialogue is that I never change except in my affections. The other dialogue of her is I never travel without my diary. One should always have something sensational to read in the train. The other dialogues of Lady Bracknell is to lose one parent, Mr. Worthing, may be regarded as a misfortune. To lose both looks like carelessness. The character Jack Worthing have dialogue of my dear fellow, the truth isn't quite the sort of the thing one tells to a nice, sweet, refined girl. What extraordinary ideas you have about the way to behave to a woman. Margaret Thatcher have reported as saying that she would be pleased to restore all of the Victorian virtues with the exception of hypocrisy. If she did say that, she betrayed a serious misunderstanding of a Victorian virtue. The other French classic writer, La Roche Foucault, said that the homage that vice pays to virtue, it is also the homage that manners pay to morals. The Victorian thought it no small virtue to maintain the appearance, the manner of a good conduct, even while violating some basic precept of morality. It's the Hanifa Nursana has noted in her research that throughout the Victorian era, movements for justice, freedom, and other strong moral values dominated, opposed to greed, exploitation, and cynicism. In Victorian era, concern in morality and one of the behavior moral is hypocrisy. If we connect this with hypocrisy in India, then this we can connect that sensuality is the spice of life, and sensuality is the essence for the survival of human spice, and we Indians have that in our culture that we had this sensuality. Uh, we explore that, and we also had that in our spicy food, coloring clothes, and our music, dance, ritual, celebrations. Sensuality is the essence for the survival of the human species. It is essential for all art, culture, civilization. Sensuality is what makes life worth living. But now we see India, then we can connect this that for ancient times we have celebrated sensuality in all aspects. from erotic paintings and sculpture in the temple art of Ajanta, Ellora, Karnak, Khajuraho, to erotic poetry in Sanskrit, to the world famous treatise on sensual pleasure, the Kama Sutra. But the this movie, Rangrasya, uh, got banned and was criticized by the Central Board of Film Certificate, and they were very unpleased by this movie because they explored the uh, sensuality and the truly we can say that it was they felt like they were shocked by this. We also have a hypocritic idea about the clothing that always compare our cultural clothing style to the modern or western cultural style, that we always some of people of India criticize people who wears the western type of clothes. We can say that if we are copying them by wearing coat and tie, then it's not that relevant. But if we are casually wearing shirts or pants and it's also comforting us, then it's okay. But they have a hypocritic idea about that. And also in food, we have that type of a mentality that one should be vegetarian or not eat the non-vegetarian food, but that depends on a climate or a geological structure, and also the economical structure that where we live and what type of food we eat. But they have a different type of idea. This news when Draupadi Murmu, our 15th president, got elected, and uh, uh, they said that food, full born or any kind of non-vegetarian feast or drink in Rashtrapati Bhavan from today, every morning the president herself will perform the Aarti or Brahma Muhurta 4 a.m. with Ishwar Stuti. So we can say that we are hypocrite, that type of hypocrite, that we want someone to sit on the chair of the president who is a vegetarian or doing some religious ritual, and we only want that type of thing. And other is this hard work versus Harvard. And many people says that hard work is more important than going to Harvard, and but they forgot that in Harvard they are also intelligent people, and who study in Harvard are also intelligent people and more hardworking than us. But we are living in a poverty that we don't have anything but just hard work. This is my work cited. Thank you. Now you can ask me questions.
Ghanshyam, what is your opinion about hypocrisy and in today's time?
Hypocrisy in today's time, and in India, we have more hypocrisy than we can connect that with Victorian time. In Victorian time, they believed in a class, they believed in their principle, and in here we believe in this type of things, that one should be culture. With go along with the culture and always believe in culture, whether or not the culture is rotten or not, but we have to stick with the culture. So we are highly hypocrite nowadays, we can say that. Next question.
So today my topic is fact versus fancy in hard time. This is my personal information. Then today I am dealing with these topics. That first is introduction, then about author Charles Dickens, then fact versus fancy. In here in this topic, facts, figures, and logic, and other is metaphysics, fantasy, and imagination. Then citation and conclusion. About author, Charles Dickens was born near Portsmouth and Portsea. He was an English novelist, generally considered the greatest of the Victorian era. His many famous volumes include such work as A Christmas Carol, David Copperfield, Black House, A Tale of Two Cities, Great Expectation, and Our Mutual Friend. Then this novel is starting from this quotation, that in the dialogue of Thomas Gradgrind, that in this life we want nothing but fact, sir, nothing but fact. In introduction, novel written in Victorian civilization, which cared only about industrialization to a degree that caused disappointment and unhappy life to most of the people of that time. Dickens, for that same reason, suggests that there is something else needed beside fact to achieve the greatest happiness for the greatest number, which is the spiritual side that Dickens calls fancy. Then fact versus fancy. This whole novel is upon fact versus fancy. We find two type of character. One is totally connected with fact, and another is totally connected with fancy. So let's see. So fact being something which is true and unchangeable, opposites with fancy. And fancy is something changeable that cannot be proved with figures, is the most important idea in hard time. Fact being harsh without the help of fancy. In fact, there is a facts, figures, and logic. At the very beginning, Mr. Gradgrind stated that nothing except facts should be studied. Facts are the only thing needful in this life. The significance of faith had reduced a lot, and there was no room left for metaphysics, fantasy, and imagination. Instead, the emphasis was given to facts, figures, and logic. Then, one very obvious victim of fact is Louisa Great Grind in this novel. She has suffered so many times just because of fact, and this fact she has to fulfill because it is her father's order. Her unlucky life begins at the point when her father hear her saying that, when Louisa said that I wonder, and her father replied that Louisa never wonder. Then others on the other side, that metaphysics, fantasy, and imagination. Here Dickens seems to support fancy rather than fact. He illustrates that fancy is more pleasant and appropriate than a great grind's fact. One reason for this may be because fancy is undertaken in Cocktown and is resisted by the high class. And fancy does exist, that it can be great fun, and that it contributes to a personality that is more charming, lively, and powerful than that of a great grind, the straw man of fact. The narrator rides circle of fancy around the great grinds of the world to make them dizzy. Here the story was starting by the facts of great grind, and here Charles Dickens tried to play with fact and with around great grind. Here we see the here in this picture there is two type of person. One said that I play Clash Royale, this is fancy, and on the other side this dialogue is said as, it is with certainly that I must inform you of the fact that I use the entertainment application recognized by the name Clash Royale. This is the example of fact and fancy, that one said both dialogue have same meaning but said in a different way. Here Dickens shows that fancy is not only more enjoyable than Great Grind's fact, but also more applicable. A man like Mr. Great Grind only sticks to fact, but even he is not perfectly free from fancy. Here I found one article of David Sunstone, named Fettered Fancy in Hard Times. He gave two definitions about fancy. That the first is the narrative personality combine images of life with images of lifelessness in complex relationship, creating an impressive model of a highly fused interdependent world which contradicts the disjoint world of great grinds fact. Then the other definition is the virtuous characters employ fellow feeling to soften ills caused by effect, but the novel does not show the components of a fancy to be coordinate as Dickens implies. In practice, imaginative play provides a protective atmosphere of a delusion within which fellow feeling is supposed to grow to strength. Imagination fortifies innocence against the sordid and bad aspect of reality. Then I tried to compare the novel with the movie, Bollywood movie Mohabbatein. Here, Mr. Gradgrind, and in this movie we found Narayan Shankar as Amitabh Bachchan. His most famous dialogue was परंपरा प्रतिष्ठा अनुशासन. ये इस गुरुकुल के तीन स्तंभ है. ये वो आदर्श है जिनसे हम आपका आने वाला कल बनाते हैं. Here in this novel we find Mr. Great Grind versus Cecily. Great Grind is a man of fact, and Cecily is a man of person of fantasy. Here in this movie, we also find that Amitabh Bachchan was a man of fact, and Shah Rukh Khan was a man of fantasy. Amitabh Bachchan wants to invent a society who live like a fantasy, a fact, and on the other side, Shah Rukh Khan was the person who want to establish the love rather than other thing. Here we see one video, so let's see. So here in this movie also we also find that the both fact and fantasy both are work together. Here Shah Rukh Khan and Amitabh Bachchan played a role we can take as Mr. Great Grind and Cecily Juke. Shah Rukh Khan wants that everyone wants love, and they have to fall in love with each other. And here in this novel, Luisa is totally bind with her father that you have to live life with facts and only facts, and you have no right to love any other man, and that's why she married to a very elder man than her. So, thus, Dickens built a bridge of imagery within each of two domains, that of life and fancy, and that of lifeless and fact. The gulf between them is a real one, and members of one domain cannot really touch upon the other. This are work citation. Thank you. Now, if you have a question, then you will ask.
Gayatri, according to you, what is fact and
According to me, fact is something unchangeable and true. Here we find the character of Thomas Gradgrind, who is the man of fact. And in example, we find that Amitabh Bachchan as Narayan Shankar, who is also a man of fact. And on the other side, fantasy is something very changeable, connected with imaginary. And in example, there in novel there is Cecily Juke and other in Shah Rukh Khan in the movie of Mohabbat. Yes.
Gayatri, according to you, how Louisa Gradgrind is the victim of fact?
According to me, Luisa is the victim of fact that she is the elder sister or elder sister of her brother and sister, and great grind. She has to follow the rules of great grind, and great grind was the main of fact. He said he never wants her to wander. He only want her as a educator and a reader only. But Luisa wants to live her life with lovable, and her father never accept it. And the other side, her brother also do the same thing. He want to be rich. uh, he want to be rich. He want to get a job. This Louisa Gradgrind has to marry with the elder main Bounderby, Mr. Bounderby. So she is the victim of fact. Thank you.
Presentation of Victorian age. I'm going to present about Thomas Hardy, and my name is Drashti Joshi. So let's start. This is my personal information. Content: Thomas Hardy, his life, Hardy's style of writing, famous work, his art of characterization, conclusion. Thomas Hardy, born in 1840 and died in 1928, English novelist and poet. Hardy was a Victorian realist who was influenced Romanticism. He was influenced by Romanticism, and he wrote about problem of Victorian society, particularly and declining rural life, because we can say that two parts. He was educated at the local school and later in Dorchester, and where shortly afterwards he begins to study with architecture. And In 1910, he was awarded the Order of Merit. His heart laid buried in his fictional town Wessex, though his ashes have in this sentence. This sentence mentioned in Edward Albert's book, and in this sentence he wants to convey that his heart is buried in his fictional town. It means that his whole life is we can say that his whole life is going to be connected with his fictional town Wessex. We know that his many novels setting is in Wessex, his fictional town, and his ashes is in Westminster Abbey. His life. Thomas Hardy, one of the great Victorian novelist and poet, was born in the village of Upper Beckbourne near Dorchester in Dorset. He was the first child of Thomas and Jemima Hardy. His father was master or mason and a violinist, which means the Hardy family was middle class. His mother came from family long established in Dorset, or we see that his whole in his works also we can see that his works are based on realistic things, and in his works we see the middle class things. Hardy spent his childhood with his parents. Between his parents, Hardy gained all the interest that would later appear in his novels and his own life. His love for architecture and music, his interest in the lifestyle of the country, and his passions for literature, both are equally same. He's also contributed in literature, and also he's interested in architecture and music. Especially, he inherited a love of music from his father, a love of reading from his mother, and strength of personality from both of them. So we here can see that her mother is more educated from her father, and also Hardy especially inherited his love for music from his father, and love for reading from his mother. So in this context, we see that the Hardy wrote many novels to his mother, who raised his son very well. Hardy's style of writing. Thomas Hardy is best known for writing about the blank fate of the working class, list of the wealthy. His non-bonus work are the novels Tastes of the Urban Wells and Jude the Obscure. Among the varieties of poetic modernism, Thomas Hardy is distinguished because of his class-inflict spectacles and self-implication tendencies, or we can say that his class-inflicting is very much influenced by romanticism and every situation what happened in the Victorian age. Use of color strongly linked to emotion experiments, especially connected with nature landscape. Important role of the language of sense impression in Hardy's novels. We can say we can see that impression of language is very much influenced and very much well used by Hardy in his novels. Famous work of Hardy's. Thomas Hardy has produced many masterpieces. Some of his best poems include Darkling Thrush and The Man He Killed. Besides poetry, he tries his hand on novels. Some of his best novels included in his novel, he presents the conflict between the new urban and the rural civilization. In many of his novels, he used this technique: new urban versus rural civilization. The Mayor of Casterbridge, Far from Madding Crowds, Taste the Urban Wells, and Jude the Obscure. These are his novels. His art of characterization, Hardy's unique power of characterization has added a great charm to all his novels. He drew his character belongs to the Wessex region. His heroes and heroines are peasants and shepherds, laborers, and singers. He fails in creating aristocratic characters. His characters are emotionally rather than intellectual. Some of them are Tays, Oak, and Bathships. Or also, we include the character of Jude. From Jude the Obscure, we say that his character is very emotional, and that kind of character he characterized in his novels. His art of characterization we can see in all his novels. Hardy's impact on future literature. Thomas Hardy's indifferent style has left deep imprint on international literature. His distinguished writing approach and unique way of expression made him stand out among the best Victorian novelists. His thoughtful idea influenced many great poets and writers, including D.H. Lawrence, John Cowper Pose, and Edwin Driffield. His ideas and feelings in his writing that even today's writers try to imitate his unique style, considering him a beacon for writing prose and poetry. So in this sentence, I think there is a spelling mistake by me. So forgive me for that. Death. Hardy was also an accomplished poet and novelist. He died in 1928. As I mentioned earlier, that his ashes are in Poets' Corner of Westminster Abbey, and his heart is buried in Stainford with his first wife. Conclusion. Thus, Hardy was the prominent Victorian novelist. His philosophy and views about life, love, marriage, destiny, and death are reflected in his works. He was the creator of the philosophical novels. He also gave to the novel a new and impressive architecture patent. We can see all his novels are based on class conflicts or upper class, lower class things, and also marriages, divorces, destiny, death, and love. All his novels has this kind of things. This is my work citation. Thank you so much. If you have any question, then you can ask me. Yes, Gayatri.
Drashti, which aspect of Hardy's novels do you like the most?
In every aspect he is best. We can say that his all kind of aspects writing like philosophy, psychology, and also class conflict, we can say that he's best in everything. So I like his all kind of aspects in, he included all kind of aspects in his novels like class conflict or economical things. And also he is very we can say that he is failed in characterize his characters in aristocratic type. Already characterize his character in very lower class or working class people, because we can say that he belongs to a middle class. So he's very good in characterize these things in manner that he characterized his characters in that manner, that middle class and all these things. Yes. Which artist style he write also blank walls and all these things, but his novels are written in that kind of style that he is very great novelist. We can say that from Victorian age. In Victorian age there are prose writer, most of the prose writer write about in this manner that they are very good. And also I mentioned in my slide that critics compare the Thomas Hardy is a Bacon of Victorian age, and we know that Elizabethan age from Bacon belongs. And Bacon was very famous essay writer, and we can say that prose writer. They both are compared from each other, so he's best for his writing novels in that manner. Thank you so much. I hope you are satisfied with my answer. Thank you.
I am visible and audible. Uh, Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Bhavyata Kukadiya. Today, my presentation topic is Patriarchy in Robert Browning's poem. Here is my personal information. This points to ponder. I'm in during presentation. I'm going through these points about Robert Browning, his famous works. The bishop orders his tomb at Saint Prext Church, and my last decade. This is two poems of Robert Browning. Robert Browning was born on 7th May 1812 in Cambridge, London. Browning's early career has been characterized by inject as a search for an appropriate poetic form, and his first published effort, Pauline, fragment, fragment of a confession, proved in a Restro- Restrop to be a false start. Browning's next poetic production, presses achieved more critical regard and began to move toward the greater objectivity of the dramatic monologue from the that Browning preferred over the next several years. Browning also wrote several plays intended for the stage along with closest dramas. However, he was not suited to be a playwright. His chief theoretical patron, William Macready, was already becoming uh, disillusioned by the play's lack of success and the poet's present difficulties in creating theoretic plots. Robert Browning was also good in humor, comedy, and characterization. Although the early part of Robert Browning's creative life was spent in comparative obscurity, he has come to be regarded as one of the most important English poet of the Victorian period. Is his dramatic monologue and the psycho-historical epic, The Ring, and the book, a novel in verse, have established him as a major figure in the history of English literature. Robert Browning's two poems, Porphyria's Lover and My Last Decade, have some striking similarities. Both features men who seems mentally disturbed. Further, both of these men had relationship with a strong woman who, despite apparently loving them, they each ended up killing, and interestingly enough, both men seem to be much happier after they have committed this murder. In this poem, the story is similar. The both poem have same theme. Both poem have as men who and man and woman, some similarity is there. Men uh, female are very powerful than a man, and after that some then man kills woman because of they better than the men. Some other works of Robert Browning. The bishop orders his tomb at St. Prax's Church. My Last Decades. The Pet Peeper of Hamelin. Porphyria's lover, Andre del Sarto, meeting at night. The poem Bishop Order His Tomb at the Saint Pathak Church. This poem is about patriarchy. In this poem, patriarchy is evident in the way the bishop ordered his. This is a spelling error. Tomb to be built. He wants it to be grand and impressive structure, befitting his status as a powerful man in church. The bishop also wants to be Tom to be a reminder of his power and authority even after his death. The poem suggests that the bishop is man who is used to getting his way and who accepts other to follow his order. This is an example of how patriarchy can be used to control and dominate others. Patriarchy is a social system in our life. The poem, this is a stanza of a poem, praise to the holiest in the highest, and it the deepest hell is will be done. This is an example of patriarchy because it is praising the male god and saying that his will be done, which shows that males are in charge. The second poem is My Last Decades. This poem is about a duke who is talking about his last decades. Uh, in the poem, the female was a very powerful than a man. So, a male also, in starting poem, a male also say that I don't like a picture of his wife. He is a wealthy and powerful, and he dominates the conversation. He is also very possessive and controlling, and seems to view his wife as a piece of property. The Duke's action and words reveal the oppressive and dangerous nature of patriarchy. In this poem, a man whose name Duck is, who is some of a crazy person who wants to kill his wife because of his wife is very powerful than him. This is my work citation. If anyone have any query, please ask. Yes.
Bhavyata, what do you think, as you mentioned in your slide, Robert Browning supporting only the patriarchy in his poem, My Last Breath is.
Yes, it mentioned in my slide, which is My Last Decades, is excellent example of this.
Do you find patriarchy is still exists?
Yes, in our society, we can see many community or culture when, for example, a woman or a girl wants to go out of their home in late night, he take a permission of his husband, his father, or his brother. That this example we can take patriarchy is still in our society.
Am I visible and audible? Good noon. I'm Avani Jani, and today I'm going to present about Déjà Vu from hard times to bank robbers. This is my personal information, and here is the points which I'm going to deal with today. Character of Tom Gradgrind, Déjà vu from hard times. जिस थाली में खाना उसी थाली में छेद करना. Here is the character of Tom Gradgrind. He is a son of Thomas Gradgrind, member of parliament. His father Thomas Gradgrind was a member of parliament. He was brother of Louisa, which is protagonist of our novel. Louisa marries Bounderby, a friend of her father, just because to secure financial condition of her brother. He is selfish and emotionless. He ends up degenerate. He ends up a degenerate gambler who robs Bounderby's bank to pay his debts. He traps a laborer for Bounderby named Stephen Blackpool. After trapping an innocent, he escapes from the country. When Stephen tries to return to clear his good name, he falls into a meaning pit and dies. Uh, that was the character of Tom Gradgrind, which we can see he is very selfish and emotionless. That he can trap someone, and if he dies, then he doesn't care for it. Here is the term déjà vu. It is a French term. Literally means already seen. That means déjà vu means already seen, which we have sometimes experienced many times. That we do see something and we feel that, oh, I have experienced it, but in reality it doesn't exist like that. Here is the history of déjà vu. Déjà vu from hard times to bank robbers. People in contemporary time are like Tom Gradgrind, which we will see in next slides. I felt deja vu to Vijay Mallya from the Kings of Good Times case. Who is Vijay Mallya? Here is the information about Vijay Mallya. Vijay Mallya is an Indian businessman at the present fighting extradition from UK Malia, who owes 17 Indian banks and estimated rupees 9,000 crore, is accused of fraud and money laundering in the country. Also former Rajya Sabha member. He is a member of Rajya Sabha. Malia is the ex-chairman of United Spirits. He currently continues to serve as the chairman of United Breweries Group. Previously, he also served as the chairman of Sanofi India and Bayer Crop Science, among other the companies. Here is the chart of Kingfisher Airline, and here his works. That he is businessman, and first he started selling beer. So he was the owner of Kingfisher beer brand, which was very popular among the people of India during that time. And no sooner government has banned the Kingfisher beer brand, that it was having alcohol, and alcohol was not allowed in India at that time. So they banned Kingfisher beer brand. Then next he starts a Kingfisher Airlines. There is typo error that I tried, but some glitches are there, so I cannot justify it. Kingfisher Airlines. Later on, he invents a Kingfisher Airlines, and next Air Deccan. He merges Kingfisher Airline and Air Deccan together, and he started running two airlines parallel. How Malia ended up being a fugitive economic offender. Malia inherited UB Spirits, we have discussed earlier, known for the Kingfisher beer brand, from his father, and turned it around into India's biggest spirits maker. He became the chairman of UB Group at the age of 28. When his father Vital Malia dies, then suddenly he becomes chairman of UB Groups. Earlier, he was not that much interested in business, but when his father dies, then he has to do the business. And there is a one saying in Gujarati that "Morna inda chitarwa no pade." That is how he was quite capable to run his group. He started Kingfisher Airline in 2005. His son Siddharth Malia informs about how Vijay Malia was desperate for Kingfisher Airlines in Netflix documentary of Bad Boys Billionaires. There was a Netflix documentary about the Vijay Malia, Nirav Modi, and many other scammers of India who frauded bank. So there, in the episode of Vijay Malia, his son, Siddharth Malia, says that it was his baby. He incubated it, he nurtured it, and then finally launched it. So he tells that Kingfisher Airline was like a baby. When we say the baby, then there comes a father and mother type of thing, and that connects the emotions with the Vijay Malia to his Kingfisher Airlines. There was not a business class in Kingfisher Airlines, as Vijay Malia says in the one interview which has shown in the Netflix documentary. This Kingfisher class, this is neither business nor it is economy. It's one class. So when very first he invented the Kingfisher Airlines, so then he says that there is only one class. Where we can see the other classes, business class, second class, first class in the airlines and train, but there was only one class in Kingfisher. This Netflix documentary shows that how Vijay Malia took loans from the big public sector banks, which drained by money of taxpayer. When Indira Gandhi nationalized the bank, and it was open for every common people, like mostly the farmer, And when it is a public bank, then obviously it is running by public, it ran by the taxpayers, which I pay, you pay, we all pay the tax, even even when someone dies, even when someone do suicide, then she or he also pays tax for it. James James, author of The Billionaire Rage, exposes the corruption in Banks of India (IDBI) in Netflix documentary. He says Vijay Mallya charmed the pants of these bankers. These were rather dowdy, poorly paid public servants. Maybe it was considered as a poor government employee. He wanted to make Kingfisher Airline more and more luxurious, experienced by borrowing more and more money from tax banks, and he didn't care much about the costs. He took more and more money from the banks, which is used by taxpayers, and he merged the Kingfisher Airline and Air Deccan with each other, took more and more loans from the public banks, and not only just airlines but also expanded at sports also. Formula One and a cricket team also, who has interest in sports and other current affairs, then they must know about that Formula One and cricket team, which is owned by Vijay Mallya. Kingfisher Airline was grounded in 2012 after a burgeoning debt burden made it impossible for the beleaguered airline to continue operations. The airline is being investigated for a suspected diversion of funds and financial irregularities. Later on, government find some activities which is not which cannot be identified. There is some errors of activity in Kingfisher Airline of Vijay Mallya. Then Vijay Mallya has to leave India. Vijay Mallya was running out of money for his business only. We will see in the next slide that how he is being celebrated, but he was not having money to pay people. So Malia was running out of money for his business only. There was no money to buy fuel for Kingfisher Airlines. Many workers of Kingfisher Airlines, including designers, pilots, and air hostess, were giving their food giving their food to the passengers when they were running out of money. We can see that the employees of Kingfisher Airline was being unpaid, and that's why the air hostess has to give their own food to the passengers. Many employee of a Kingfisher Airline were fell into depression because of this scam. One lady committed suicide due to tight financial condition of her family because her husband was being unpaid, who worked in Kingfisher Airlines. So I can connect this point with the death of Blackpool from hard times. Employees were on strikes and crises were going on, and on the other hand, Vijay Mallya was celebrating his 60th birthday with grand party. Not only grand party but great grand party. When here, the Neetu Shukla, a former cabin crew, Kingfisher Airlines, says in the documentary of Netflix that when we saw his grand birthday party, we realized that he is actually enjoying our misery. It felt like he was glorifying our misery by showing us the disparity between himself and us. This statement is a very heart-touching statement I have ever read. That she is saying that when the people of his own groups were starving, and on the other hand he was celebrating his own birthday party.
While we were starving, he was celebrating his birthday party, says Anjan Deshwar, a former engineer, Kingfisher Airlines. This documentary adds a statement of Neeraj Monga, a former Veritas investment research, that the loan is the example that has been used by the government of India, that there was some kind of fraudulent activity and some kind of relationship between the borrower, which is a Kingfisher Airline, and lender, which is IDBI Bank. We can see that these two pictures that how our laws, how our law and our government looks like. And here is the second picture. See in that picture that he is full of money, though he is trying to pull money in his mouth, and he wants to get more and more fed by the money. Current situation of Vijay Mallya's case. Here is the details about Vijay Mallya's case, that how it is going on right now. जिस थाली में खाना उसी में छेद करना. Tom has cheated his own sister and her husband for money. Her sister, who has married to the man who is quite older, not quite but very much older than her, and who is the same age at her father. So she married to this man just because to save the financial career of his brother, and he has cheated his own sister. Vijay Mallya cheated his own nation and poor employee of his own company. India has always been a land of poverty. It had now has riches, but they have always been unevenly distributed. Side by side have existed squalid, poverty, and princely, irresponsible wealth. Here is one article which I found in Jester, which defines the in country, our financial condition of our country, which has word unevenly distributed. But I am not agree from this unevenly distributed, because we can see that we are not distributed, we are unpaid, we are doing work though we are not getting money, and people like Vijay Mallya are snatching money from us. So we are not distributed, or we are not having money. Here is the conclusion. People has to pay more tax to the banks for recovering these public banks, which is cheated by billionaire and being corrupted. When it is a public bank, then there has to be there we have to pay for it, just because we are the public. We all are the same as the character of Stephen Blackpool. Here is my work cited. Is there any question?
Yes, Avani, how can we prevent corruption?
uh, I don't think so I can say much about it, but I think, for from my point of view, we can prevent corruption just because we are the givers and we are the takers. If we don't take money, then corruption won't be there. So it starts from us. We blame society, but we are the society. That is the answer. Thank you.
Who is responsible for bank fraud?
I don't know about the other bank frauds, but in the Vijay Mallya's case, there is that lender, who is responsible for the bank fraud. Just because if he didn't lend the money to Vijay Mallya, then there won't be any type of scam. So there is some type of lack of research. Research are also responsible for that. Then when you are giving this type of loan, this much loan, then you have to take some type of responsibilities. You are not alone, but the whole nation is with you. So you have to think about it. I hope you are satisfied with my answers. Thank you.
Am I audible and visible? Hello everyone. My name is Archana. Today I am present topic paper number 104 literature of the Victorians. In the topic is thematic study of Jude the Obscure written by Thomas Hardy. This is my personal information. Today I am dealing with points to ponder like about author, works, themes and conclusions. Thomas Hardy. Thomas Hardy was born on 2nd June 1840. Thomas Hardy was the son of Thomas Hardy, a master mason of building constructor, and Jemima Hand, a woman of some literary interest. He died on January 11, 1928, and a few days later was buried in Westminster Abbey. His works like The Poor Man and the Lady, written in 1867 or 1680. His first published novel was Desperate Remedies in 1871, and another his work like A Pair of Blue Eyes in 1873. After death of his wife, from this time on Hardy devoted his all full time to writing and continued to publish novels regularly until his last in 1895, Jude the Obscure. Here I am dealing with things like marriage, fate, social criticism, and women's society. Marriage. The novel's plot is designed to writing all the possible tragedy out of an unhappy marriage. As Jude is first quilted into marrying Arabella by her fine pregnancy, and she marries Philoston, mostly to make Jude jealous. When they meet each other and fall in love, Sue and Jude's pure connection is constantly obstructed by their earlier marriages, and Hardy even present the tragedy of Little Father's Time's murder suicide as a natural result of broken marriages and unhappy relationship. In the narrator's aside, Hardy also criticized marriages, describe it as a binding contract that most young lovers are incapable of understanding. Here is another journal article's point of view that when Jude the Obscure was published in 1895, it was interpreted in many quarters as Hardy's contribution to the growing contemporary debate on the marriage question. The prominence of the public debate, as well as Hardy's candid and even sensational treatment of marriage in sex in his novel,
tended to draw attention to this aspect of the work rather than to the other theme that Hardy apparently had in mind when he first convinced Jude the educational. And another theme like fate. The novel's overarching story of fate is that Jude and Shu's family is cursed in marriage. Both Jude's parents and Shu's parents were divorced, and they have an ancestor who was hanged for stealing his child's body from his estranged wife. This curse this curse comes to affect the protagonist actions as they avoid marrying each other and possibly doubling the curse. Fate looms over the characters in other situations as well, like when Jude tries so hard to get into a college but is always failed to fail because of his poverty and class. The climax of the novel, Little Father Time's murder suicide, is portrayed as an inevitable result of the situation in which he was raised, a product of divorce, depression, and bad luck. As with the marriage question, Hardy gives no easy answer regarding fate. And another theme like social criticism. Much of the novel serves as a vessel for Hardy's criticism of English Victorian society. Most of this critique is aimed at the institution of marriage, but Hardy also targets education, divides, and hypocrisy. The early part of the novel involves Jude's quest to be accepted into a college at Christminster, a university town based on Oxford. Jude works for years teaching himself classical languages, but he is never accepted simply because of his social class and poverty. And this is the another article, and in this article they he said that social criticism on his point of view. In Jude's unjustified failures, Hardy demonstrates the unfairness and classicism of the educational system. Hardy was far ahead of his time in many of his views, implying that universities should accept members of the working class. Couples could live together without being married, and even that the father of a child should be the women's business alone. But Hardy's society was not ready for such social criticism. The backlash against Jude the Obscure was so harsh that Hardy gave up writing altogether. And another article that he says that these essays examines Hardy's decisions at the end of his career as a novelist to return to the striking socialistic themes which had defined his first novel. Jude the Obscure is Hardy's exploration of the spiritual and intellectual deprivation that attends the condition of the working class poor. And another themes is women in society. Sue Bradhead is a surprisingly modern and complex heroine for her time, and through her character, Hardy brings up many gender-related issues. Sue is unique in Victorian society in that she lives with men without marrying them. As with her undergraduate student friend, she is highly intelligent and very well read, and she rejects the traditional Christianity for her society. She also works alongside both Philoston and Jude. first marrying Philoston partly to further her own teaching position despite her intelligence and independence. As an opposite to Sue, Arabella. Arabella is greedy, sensual and vain, the stereotype of everything Victorian society found bad and sinful in women. Women, how Arabella is usually the antagonist, she is also the character who ends up the most fortunate in the plot, showing just how unprepared society was for a character like Shu. Conclusion: this is a work cited work, and in this work, the general article, and he says that if we look beyond Hardy's conscious intentions to such thing as repeated themes, incidental comments, and subtle differences in the presentation of analogies, male and female characters, we find evidence that he could not altogether overcome the sexual stereotypes of his culture. They emerge particularly in his treatment of two recent situations in generalizations evoked by the misbehavior of his female characters, and in his use of the terms womanly and manly. And these are my work cited. Thank you. Now you have any question and you ask me.
I have a question. Uh, Archana, how does shoe differ from Arabella?
Uh, she was very intelligent and very intelligent girl, and she was lived without marrying. And another side to Arabella. Arabella was very greedy and sensible and vain girl.
Archana, from your perspective, what is responsible for the pitiable condition of Jude? Fate or norms of the society?
According to me, sorry, I can't understand.
According to you, what
I think uh, in the Jude of the Obscure there is a pitiable condition for uh, in our society, like women are um, always work as her husband said, or her brother said, or her father said. And in Jude the Obscure, we show Sue. She was a very intelligent and prouded girl, and she was always in a modern time. And we also learn in any graduation and any platform. And then we also connect with also we are part of social, and we not understand our fathers or our brothers mentality. So I think that.
Hello everyone. Good evening to all. Myself Anjali Rathod. And today I am going to deal with my presentation topic, thematic study of hard times.
Slideshow.
Hello everyone. Good evening to all. My name is Anjali Rathod. Today I am going to today I am going to deal with my presentation topic, thematic study of hard times. This is my personal information. Introduction of the author. Charles Dickens was considered the Victorian age. He was born on February 7, 1812, Portsmouth, Hampshire, England. He was died on June 9, 1870, Chatham. He was a English novelist and a writer. He worked as a journalist and he worked as a journalist and writes social and political affairs. Among Charles Dickens' works are the novels like Hard Times, David Copperfield, The Pickwick Papers, Oliver Twist, uh, Chris, Christmas Carol, Black House, Great Expectations. Characters of the novel: Thomas Gradgrind. He was the protagonist of this novel, and he was a director of a school, and then he become a uh, then he become then he become a member of parliament. Louisa, Louisa, she is a daughter of Thomas Gradgrind, the son of Thomas Gradgrind. Mr. Joshua Bounder by. He was the friend of Thomas Gradgrind. Mrs. Farsi, she was a widow woman. He lived with Mr. Joshua Boundary by Stephen Blackfall. Uh, he was a labor. James House. He was a friend of Thomas Gradgrind. C. She was the student of Thomas Gradgrind. A theme of the novel: surveillance and discipline. I shall have the satisfaction of causing you to be strictly educated. Thomas Gradgrind tells CC type in hard times. Any you will be a living proof to all who come into communication with you of the advantages of the training you will receive. You will be reclaimed and forced. The novel ironically subverts this complacent picture of an invincible Gradgrindian system. Epidonaj Grodsky has argued that utilitarians and their opponents often said near identified presuppositions and social values, fact and fancy. In hard times, Dickens introduces a way to resist the humiliating effects of the Industrial Revolution by writing the novel for and about ordinary people. He also realizes that people in need fantasy and fancy by reading books and by going to theaters and circuses. The novel is about the idea that there is more in life than pure facts to rely on. A negative effect in industrial society. However, industrial has been evaluated. It has been recognized as a Dickens' distinctive attempt to grips with the phenomenon of the industrial city and with the more hidden economic and social structures which that city visibly represents. The imaginative constraint of hard times is a symbolic expression of Dickens' critique of the interlocking structure, economic, social, and political of industrial capitalism. Femininity, hearing that her husband is apprehended, Tom and Louisa peeping into slavery's circus. Mrs. Great Grand exclaims, "I declare you are enough to make one regret ever having had a family at all. I have a great mind to save great mind to save. I wish I had not. Then what would you have done? I should like to know. Mechanization of human beings portrayed as machines is clearly portrayed as Dickens describes Louisa and Thomas looking through people at the circus with Mr. Great-Grand's philosophy in fact and fancy. Fact is only thing useful for a child and nothing else with ever be a end service to over them, while dismissing any development of their emotions as well as imaginations, clearly depicts Dickens' theme of human mechanization. The quote from the Charles Hard Times, Charles Dickens, uh, there is a wisdom of the head and there is a wisdom of the heart. What's cited? Anybody wants to ask a question?
How do you connect the human mechanization in this novel?
Yeah. Charles Dickens s- suggestions that in Victorian era, human of mechanization is human of mechanization uh, human of mechanizations of industrialization 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 with into um, human beings portrayed as machines, and industrialization and machines by their imaginations.
Anjali, how far do you agree with the point fact?
Sorry, I'm not aware about it. I will let you know. Thank you. Hello everyone, I am Aarti Sarvaiya. Um, Today I am going to present on this topic, title of the play, Importance of Being Earnest, written by Oscar Wilde. This is my personal information. Subtitles of my presentation is like about title of the play, meaning of the word earnest, intention of the playwright, character of the playwright, character of the play, connected characters with the title, conclusion, and then references. Um, uh, Before going to the main point, I would like to some give some. I would like to some. I would like to give some basic information about this. This novel is written by Oscar Wilde. This novel is written by Oscar Wilde and published in the year 1899. This work is also performed uh, performed at the first performed. This work is at the year 1895. This is the it has this is two act play. Genre of the play is comedy of manner, and meaning of the word earnest. A person is neither loyal or not rich, but his name is Ernest. In this novel, concept of the concept of the word earnest is taking uh, as a as a normally we uh, normally we imagine that earnest meaning means the who is earn something, and who is capable for doing something and earning something, that is. But in this novel, the meaning of earnest is different. Uh, uh, According to Gwendolyn and Cecily, Ernest Ernest is according to Gwendolyn and Cecily. Ernest means they love this word, this name, because because they both are they b- both uh, they both are they both are that feels that Ernest, the name Ernest will be as honest and as a name as name suggested. Nevertheless, the name does not appeal at all to Lady Bracknell, who is aunt of Mr. Algernon and mother of mother of mother of Gwendolyn. According to she opposite the marriage of Jake and Gwendolyn uh, because she doesn't matter what is the name, but she focuses on the social structure and standing of the men, um, and intention of the playwright. This play is written by Oscar Wilde. Oscar Wilde created one of the most delightful and memorable social comedies with the title with the play "The Importance of Being Earnest." This first performed in 1895, and the play satirizes the stiff and proper custom and institutes of Victorian England. He is parodying the normal views of people in the Victorian era, as they focus more on very minor and unimportant things, highlighting their superficiality. In this in this play, he is parodying Victorian aristocratic peoples. In this novel, the protagonist of the play is Gwendolyn and Cecily. They both are love love the man whose name is Ernest, not the qualities and love of that man. They only satisfy with the name whose name is Ernest. About the title. The title of the play, which is full of pun and hint of mock seriousness, suggests that the play is spirited and witty comedy in which the character all speaks with the words and point of highly polished and elegant idioms. The title also suggests the farcical nature of the plot. Jake, who is the protagonist of the play, realizes importance of being earnest at the end of the play when he meet her lost family. Um, at that time, he also realized what is the importance of being earnest, and the characters of the play is like Jake Worthy, who also known as Ernest, Algernon Moncrief. He also made another, he also known as another man for whose name is Bunbury. When he wants to escape uh, the countries from the London, and he wants to go in the countryside. At that time, he uses this character Bunbury, and Gwendolyn, who is cousin of Algernon and daughter of um, Lady Bracknell, Cecily Cardew, who who is a sister of Jake Worthing, but she tells him Uncle Jake, because Cecily is a uh, daughter of Thomas Cardew. Daughter of Thomas Cardew, and Jake Worthing is a adopted son of Thomas Cardew because he find him at the Victorian station. And Lady Augusta Bracknell, who is also a main character of this play, Miss Letitia Prism, whose character comes at the end of the novel, and who is also a major character of the novel, and Reverend Canon Chasuble, who is Christianing the name of Algernon, and Jake for Jake to the Ernest. Connected characters with the title. Um, these are the four major character of the play that Cecily Cardew, um, Cecily Cardew, uh, James, uh, uh, and Gwendolyn and Algernon. Um, Gwendolyn is a cousin sister of Algernon, and Cecily is a uh, sister of Jake Worthing. They both ladies are loved a man whose name is Ernest, not a man whose qualities are good and who loves her. But the both men, Algernon and Jake are love that woman for their behavior, their characters. Is in this novel, they both men are very fallen, very love, very much love to their mistresses. At the end of the novel, we can see this when they are also convincing for the questioning their name from their real name. Other characters are Lady Augusta Bracknell, Mr. Chasuble, and Miss Letitia Prism. Uh, when Lady Bracknell see the Miss Prism at the end of the play, she reminds her memory that she is the lady who worked at her sister's house, and and she escaped with one of her boy with her, but she lost that boy in the railway station of Victoria railway station, and at that time Mr. Thomas Cardew find that boy who is really Jake Worthing, find there and adopt him, and the Chasuble, Mr. Chasuble, at the end of the story when they both are trying to christening their name to Jake and Algernon to uh, Ernest Worthing. At that time, the Mr. Chasuble christening their names. Conclusion: the plot of the importance of being earnest is based on the improbable actions, incredible characters, and absurd situation and coincidences. In the this play is also this play is also runs at the title at the end of the play. We can find the what why this novel's title is like that. That at the end, the character of Jake Worthing find her his real family to become the name and christening the name and find the name of why he is trying to be Ernest. And this is my references. And, now, have you any question? Then you can ask me.
Can you connect being earnest in today's life, today's time? Sorry.
Yes, in today's time also people likes to being earnest, and by the name they want also want to being earnest. That in today's life all the people are wants to be uh, good and good and higher position, takes a higher position. Um, for example, all the men's being all the people um, wants to be wants to be a big be and take a big position.
Reply to her question in comment.
Thank you.
It's quite a long day today. Okay. In the morning we had 4 hours of session because we have electricity failure also. And this is around 2 hours and 30 minutes now. Network also is low in this. Okay, let me give a quick feedback. Yeah, keep on shutting down this pages which are open, so have better smooth speed in. Okay. Well, so a few concept clarity also we'll see where it remains and what you have said. Hetal was first to make presentation, and that was little father time. On that, the presentation was made. It was quite well prepared presentation, and some good resources are also referred in that. So that point of little father time is well thoroughly discussed in that. The small character, but a very important character in the novel. Gopi also presented well. You are still citing Gradesaver and study.com, study material websites. So avoid citation from all this website, which we are repeatedly telling from first day, that avoid doing this. And your question, and anybody who dealt with this Victorian dichotomy, or this double life in importance of being earnest or any other thing. In the morning also we had one or two presentations where this double identity and the things were discussed. So what are the reasons for that? That you need to explore. Why people do that? There is a hypocrisy is fine. Victorian hypocrisy also is there. But why people are hypocritical also? Why people are hypocritical? So one article which was cited in morning session, that was Nirali has cited this, where these points were there. There were 3 interesting points. One was narrow view of Victorian society towards moral standards. So when you have a narrow way of looking at morality, people will become hypocritical. So that is one, that if we have open-minded, then people will not be, we are more accepting, but you are not accepting all kinds of behavior. So that was one reason. Another was this, there was a kind of this mistress culture. So very rich people used to have extramarital affairs, and they used to have somebody as kept also somewhere, either if they are in city then in rural place, if rural place then in city also. So they have to have dual way of living life. At one place you live in one way, the other in the different way. So that was also widespread in this. And third was this homosexuality was illegal in that society. So Oscar Wilde's biography also is very significant. He also had a homosexual relation, and then he was penalized. He was sent out of England. So because of that also people used to have hypocritical life, because some of those things which are in some way natural but not accepted by society. So these reasons are to be seen that why people have this kinds of behavioral pattern. And if you find good article, then that is to be cited. That is how we integrate resource to prove our argument. That is what we call it. So that can be seen. Then Ghanshyam also read on hypocrisy in Victorian society. And this point about hypocritical society of Victorian is to be remembered, because in semester 3, when we'll talk about modern literature, we will start with this Victorian hypocrisy. So you'll get connection with this there. Those people who were living in Victorian society, they considered themselves as better human beings. They considered that as a moral standard of living life. It was afterwards that people said that your morality was a hypocrisy. It was during their days, they never considered themselves hypocritical. So it is like when we are living a life, we consider it is a good life. But after that life has gone, after the people has gone, the new people have come, they start saying that, well, that was not a good life. It was full of hypocrisy. And there were writers who were able to see that. And those writers became very well-known writers, great writers like Oscar Wilde, Hardy, Dickens. They all were there to see that you consider yourself a better society, but see, these are loopholes in your society which they try to project there. So remember this, we will again connect with that. You also refer to one of the study sites, though it was still well prepared, and they were giving some details about the people who are proofreading, fact checking, that was given. But still, Eduzaurus was the site that you have referred there. One article which you and other people also can refer is written by Oscar Wilde when you talk about all these things. This article was published in 1891. A Soul of Man Under Socialism. A Soul of Man Under Socialism. That article is worth referring for in this context. Gayatri presented on fact versus fancy. Slides were well prepared. But there is one problem, conceptual problem in that also that we need to see. You cited this film Mohabbatein, so which gives this idea that this point of fact and what Dickens is trying to say or what is he criticizing needs to be understood in a still much proper context also. So there were good questions also. We'll come to that this point, but Dickens is criticizing utilitarianism. Utilitarianism. I shared the link of utilitarianism, and on the blog also I have linked it. Earlier it was not there on our material website, but now I have put it there. I think we have not discussed that point in the classroom discussion. Probably not full length discussion we have not done. Now utilitarianism, if you will read, you will find it is a very good idea. It is a good philosophy of life. It is, and you will find very positive aspect where you think of happiness of more people. That is utilitarianism, and everything that people do should be useful to people in achieving the goal of happiness, human happiness. That is how utilitarianism works. But it has its own downside also. Like all philosophies of life have some of limitations also. And this limitations of this approach also is that it determines right and wrong based on human happiness only, pleasure and human happiness only. Now that sometimes becomes problematic, because for a larger happiness, you may not care for the minor groups, minor people, or somebody may be unhappy. But you see that, well, but somebody is happy also. So somebody will have to sacrifice for others' happiness. That way you justify utilitarianism, that if people will not sacrifice their life, then larger number of people will not be happy. For example, the logic that we apply time and again, that you are happy, like civilians, citizens inside the cities are happy because soldiers are sacrificing their lives. Soldiers live away from their family members. Days and nights they have to sacrifice, snowfall in Siachen, heavy, terrible weathers. But they can't celebrate their festivals with their family members. During Diwali also they are off. Why? That's why you are happy. So what is, they have to sacrifice the life, but somebody can be happy. So larger good, large number of people can be happy, a few can be unhappy also. Utilitarianism will support that idea that somebody will have to be unhappy for larger good also. But then when you talk about those soldiers, then you are worried. Then you may say that, well, it is not fair. So in that context, you say that if father is happy, if brother is happy, if larger family members are happy, and only Louisa is unhappy, then it's not, the bargain is well enough. One is unhappy, but more are happy. So that, but Dickens is satirizing that we don't care for individuals' emotions and feeling. We don't care for individual emotions and feeling in that. Louisa also is an individual, and for her life is a kind of a punishment for the happiness of other people. So utilitarianism is a good idea. Generally, it is a good philosophy. But Dickens found loopholes in that philosophy, and then Dickens is not able to understand it thoroughly also. Is not like keeping balance of that also. That also is seen in that aspect also. So fact is seen in a way like life should not become so mechanical that, well, it is equation that if this is done, that is the result. It cannot be that. There are different contexts in which things keep on changing. Things keep on changing in different contexts. So too much of mechanical life, if anything is producing, then again, that is what he considered as fact, not truth or any other thing that he is trying to look at. Some space for some imagination and other things should be made available. That is why circus comes there metaphorically only. But as we were discussing in the class, that if you are in circus, you will break your bonds. You will be unhappy there also. You go to watch circus as a kid, you will be happy. But as a grown-up person, you will not be happy in circus. Or if you are taking a part in circus, because even Sissy Jupe's father also is breaking bonds. He is not happy. Sissy Jupe's father is not happy. That's why he is running away. That my daughter will always stay with me only if I will stay here. So out of unhappiness, he is making a decision to run away from circus life. So there is this contradiction that plays a very vital role in this. So when you think of the film like Mohabbatein in that context, and you put these parallel characters, you'll find that, well, that aspect of love and relation is only for 4 or 5 years in life only. The life is very long. So when you are 20, 25, these are those emotions of Mohabbatein, which that character wants to portray. But then life never ends. There is, after 30 also you have to live life. After 40 also. After 50 also. You don't remain young forever. And you have, like, once a marriage, then you can't go on singing songs with your wife. The way you sing songs with your beloved. You won't do that. Then you will be Kirana store. There will be theli in the hand. You will have to go to purchase tel, vegetables, fruits. That is life. So what is shown there is an illusion. It is not a reality. It is not fact. That is what is a significant part. That life is much, and it portrays an illusion of the life only. It doesn't portray the totality of life in that context there. So in the larger context, what is satirized is more true. What is satirized is truth rather than what is glamorized. What is glamorized is untrue. It is an illusion that is glamorized there. So without making that point, if you make a comparison, then there is a huge mistake that is being made between fact and fancy. That is how. So here also this idea of fact, which he says, is against mechanical life. That's why this tamasha film we were talking about, that how the life becomes mechanical. But there also we have carefully made those points that he is still belonging to a rich business family. That context is very necessary. If you will not do anything, then also you have a home to stay. Your father's income is there to give you roti. You have kapda, you have makan. Now you can do all tamasha. You can do all nautanki. But those people who do not have those things, and if they will do tamasha and nautanki, then bhukh maro. They will die on the road, on the streets. That all. So we have to make reference to that. Without that, it becomes incomplete discussion or understanding of this also. So good questions were there. Ghanshyam and Gopi asked that. So you have to understand what is fact and fancy very carefully. What is fact and fancy in a given context needs to be understood. Not something that is changing or unchanging. Not that is limited way of looking at that. And Gopi's also question also, Louisa is a victim of fact. Actually, she is a victim of utilitarianism. That way it has to be. And Louisa is a victim of utilitarianism, which is a very good philosophy. But somebody has to sacrifice their lives. As we gave the example of soldiers, the same way somebody will have to sacrifice. She is a victim of that idea that you want to see the overall good of family, somebody will have to sacrifice. It's a very old mythical story, like it is an archetype. When Valmiki was killing people, Valio Lutaro was there, and then when he was told that you will have to have the punishment for this, he said that no, my family member will share my punishment because I am doing for them. Then when he's going and asking, they said, no, it is your duty to give us food. How you are bringing it is up to you. You have to bring it in fair manner, but if you are using unfair manner, the punishment will be only yours, not ours. And then he left family. As if he said that why should I sacrifice my life for this family? So he is not like Louisa. Had he been like Louisa, then he would be wailing in the family matters only. But he leaves ultimately, and then he says, I will rather become a Rushi and care for my soul and my karma rather than family members. So he is moving away from that utilitarianism that you are there for family. You say, no, I am for myself. He becomes selfish. We can say he became selfish. And then he says that I want to work for my soul rather than for my family member. So utilitarianism is good when people sacrifice their lives for family, for country, for overall good of people also. People die for causes. So they have that. So, but there are individual tragedies in that lives also. When you cite a film, director is to be cited, that you have to be careful about. When you cite a film, director, last surname should come there. Drashti on Hardy as novelist. Few more resources you need to cite, only one you referred to. Here you have to. We made that point very clear. When you prepare for exam, it is a different thing. When you prepare for presentation assignment, it is a different thing. Bhavyata on patriarchy in Browning's poem, My Last Duchess, and there were good points that were there. You can bring some original lines to prove that how or where is it coming. There was one sentence which you can still correct and put there, and that is about that praising male god is patriarchal. That is what you have used. There was one line word and you said that praising. Rather you can say that this god being gendered as male itself is patriarchy. When the god is not seen by anybody, is not seen, it is nirakar, it doesn't have any akar. So there is no possibility of seeing a god because it doesn't have any akar. So then who gave gender to God? Most of the religions are patriarchal, so they made God as male figure. So Christian God or Hindu Tridev, Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh, who are then the creator of Devis. So they all. So who gendered God? That can be the right question there. Capital H is used in Bible for God. He, capital H. So who decided this? The writers were male, so they decided. That's the patriarchy of religion. Avani on Déjà vu. So that is, I shared a link also with you. Déjà vu doesn't mean what you have discussed in the presentation. It is a psychological feeling. Like અચાનક કઈ વસ્તુ જોઈને એમ થાય કે આ તો ક્યાંક જોયું હોય એવું લાગે છે. એ ફિલિંગ એટલે આ નવલકથા વાંચી અને વિજય માલિયાને જોઈ તો કે આ તો પેલો ટોમ છે એમ નહીં. It is not psychological feeling. It is completely misused idea. Déjà vu is completely misused. So this is the point where when you see dictionary meaning, it seems કે જે જોયું છે તે, પણ એ રીતે નથી. જે જોયું છે એ આ psychological છે. It is એક એવું illusion ઊભું થાય છે. Feeling of reliving, it is a feeling only, it is not reality. Feeling of reliving something, or a feeling like I have experienced this before, but that is illusion, it is not reality. It happens because of mind problem, it happens because of memory problem. There is disconnections, or something else is connected in the mind in a different way, so that happens. એ રીતે થાય કે એક આનો મેમરીનો કટકો રહે, બીજો બીજી મેમરીનો કટકો રહે, એ બે એવી રીતે ભેગા થાય કે એમ લાગે એક જગ્યાએ છે, બે જગ્યાએ ન હોય. એક ભ્રમણા ઊભી કરે છે આપણા મનની અંદર, તેને déjà vu કહેવાય છે. It is that kind of thing. So that is not the right way of looking at Tom and Vijay Mallya as a bank robbers in this case. Okay? And also, like beer was never banned in India. You were citing that, but yeah, no, I don't. You share the link with me. That which link? Alcohol was, I don't think, never banned in India. In recent time, at least, it is not. While the Kingfisher. No, then I don't think it was banned. You share with me. So the link is not given. Otherwise, I would have cross-checked it. In the cited Netflix link, have you given that? So I was not able to see that where you have cited. I will check and I will see that. But it is legal. Selling liquor, Kingfisher is still there and selling the things. It is still there. Airline Kingfisher is not there now. But liquor is still, and those things are still in the market, and it is also sold there. So that we need to see what is that reference, that when and how it was banned, or that alcohol things. So this, when you connect, we come to know that whether you are seeing things thoroughly, fairly well or not. That's why we keep on asking you that connect. So when you connect, then we understand that, well, you have not understood the point carefully. Maybe something is missing when you try to bridge the things. Something is not understood, so you are connecting with something else. That's why in presentation, if you connect, then we can come to know that concept clarity is there or not. Archana on thematic study of Jude. Okay. So there was one slide and there was one question also about fate. Pitiable condition of Jude. Is it because of fate or norms of society? So that is the very crux of Hardy. Hardy is putting his characters on a threshold, umber, on a threshold of what role fate plays in human life and what role society plays in human life. In between that, human characters are suffering. Most of the characters are suffering between this. So his question is that, is this suffering written by fate or is it written by society? That is the human predicament of most of the characters of Hardy. That is Hardy's world itself, where he battles with this two ideas there. So that destiny versus human dreams and desires. So humans have dreams and desires, and it conflicts with the destiny, that they are put in such a class that there is no rising from there, or they are in poor condition, or they are in a rural space, they are thrown in this country or that country, that their dreams and desires can never be fulfilled. And then something happens that they get a dream also. And then there is that these characters are supposed to have a tragic experiences in life. So that is a very important thing to look at Hardy's world. Anjali on thematic study of hard times, need to still work hard and prepare well. Okay. Questions also you're not able to answer. Aarti, his last one was there on importance of being earnest. Okay, fine. So that also you discuss. You are speaking many things orally. You are not reading slides word by word. That is good part. And even in the slide also, when you use titles, you have to use single inverted comma. Even within the slide, not only in the title. કે આપણે તો title કહ્યું એટલે title જ. એમ જે આપણે સ્વીકારીએ એટલે આપણે પેલા જે ડિકન્સ ટીકા કરે છે એવા બનીએ. જેટલું કહ્યું હોય એટલું જ કરવાનું, બીજું આગળ પાછળ કાંઈ નહીં વધવાનું. એટલે આપણે મિકેનિકલ પુર્જા જેવા બનતા જાય. આપણે આપણી કોમન સેન્સનો ઉપયોગ સતત કરવાનો છે. That is what is fancy or imagination. So we have to always keep on using our imagination along with what is said also. Okay, so tomorrow we will have odd even numbers, 1 to 22 numbers, or all numbers have changed. Yeah? And now onwards we will have this new number in the new month also. In the attendance we will have this 1 to 22. So 11 students will come in the morning. One odd numbers, 1, 3, 5, 7, 11, and the other 11, 2, 4, 6, 8 will come in the afternoon. So that way we will have. Don't forget to submit the evaluation form within 30 minutes. Okay? And also take care of your topics for the final day of our presentations. Okay? We end our session.